In the south of Peru lies a plateau of utter desolation, a vast, arid expanse of reddish-brown earth baked by an unforgiving sun, where rain is an event that occurs perhaps once every few years. This is the Nazca Desert, one of the driest places on earth. Upon this stark and silent canvas, an ancient people left a message so enormous, so enigmatic, that it remained unseen for over 1,000 years. Etched into the desert floor are hundreds of geometric shapes and colossal figures: a spider, a hummingbird with a 65-meter wingspan, a monkey with a spiraling tail, a condor, a whale, and many more. These are the Nazca Lines, a sprawling gallery of geoglyphs visible in their entirety only from the sky. And for decades, they have been at the heart of a tantalizing question. Were these lines created as a celestial welcome mat, a navigational aid, or even a landing strip for visitors not of this world? The modern world became aware of this mystery not through archaeology, but through aviation. In the late 1920s and 1930s, as commercial and military pilots began charting routes over this remote region of Peru, they reported seeing strange, primitive-looking drawings on the ground below. From the desert floor, they were nothing more than shallow trenches, faint puffs in the dirt. But from hundreds of feet in the air, they resolved into coherent, deliberate, and gigantic designs. The discovery was baffling. Who could have created art that they themselves could never fully appreciate? The initial reports were met with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. It was Peruvian archaeologist Toribio Mejia Zespi who, in 1927, began the first systematic study from the ground, walking the lines and recognizing them as part of a lost, sacred practice. But it was the perspective from above that truly unlocked the scale of the phenomenon. In 1941, historian Paul Kosak from Long Island University flew over the region while studying ancient irrigation systems. As the sun set on the winter solstice, he watched in astonishment as its last rays aligned perfectly with one of the long, straight lines. In a moment of profound insight, he declared the Nazca Plateau the largest astronomy book in the world. This single observation set the stage for the first major scientific theory. Kosak, along with his protege, German mathematician and archaeologist named Maria Reich, dedicated their lives to this astronomical hypothesis. Reich, who would become known as the Lady of the Lines, spent over 5 decades living in the desert, meticulously mapping, cleaning, and measuring the geoglyphs. She slept in a simple hut, battled against the elements, and single-handedly protected the lines from destruction by cars and passersby. Her theory, building on Kosak's, was that the lines constituted a massive astronomical calendar. The figures, she proposed, represented constellations, while the straight lines pointed to the rising and setting positions of the sun, moon, and significant stars on key dates, such as solstices and equinoxes. For the Nazca people, an agricultural society living in a hyper-arid environment, predicting the seasons and the onset of the brief, life-giving rains from the Andes would have been a matter of survival. The desert floor was their celestial chart, a tool for communing with the cosmos and regulating their earthly existence. The method of their creation is, surprisingly, the least mysterious part of the puzzle. The Nazca Desert pavement is composed of a layer of reddish-brown, iron oxide-coated pebbles. The Nazca people discovered that by simply removing this dark top layer, they could expose the lighter, yellowish-gray soil underneath. The contrast creates the lines. The trenches are typically only 10 to 15 centimeters deep. The reason they have survived for nearly 2 millennia is the region's extraordinary climate. The lack of rain prevents them from being washed away. The absence of strong wind means they are not buried by sand. And the heat from the surface creates a protective cushion of air that further shields them from wind erosion. The Nazca created something monumental, and nature, in its own way, decided to preserve it. Archaeologists have found evidence of their methods: wooden stakes at the end of some lines, suggesting they used simple surveying techniques with ropes, and posts to create perfectly straight lines over vast distances. Small-scale sketches on rock faces seem to have served as blueprints for the larger figures. The Nazca were skilled engineers and artists, possessing a sophisticated understanding of geometry and scale. For decades, the astronomical calendar theory, championed by the tireless Maria Reich, was the dominant explanation. It was elegant, logical, and grounded in the agricultural needs of the culture. But as more researchers studied the lines, inconsistencies began to appear. Statistical analyses showed that while some lines did have astronomical significance, a great many did not. The alignments seemed to be no more frequent than what one might expect from random chats, given the sheer number of lines. The scientific community began to search for a new explanation. This new wave of research, led by figures like Johann Reinhard and Anthony Aveni, shifted the focus from the sky to the ground, specifically to the most precious resource in the desert, water. Reinhard, a National Geographic explorer, drew upon his extensive knowledge of Andean ethnography and mountain worship. Throughout the Andes, mountains are seen as sacred deities or apis, who control weather and provide water. Reinhard noted that many of the straight lines pointed directly at mountains on the horizon, the very mountains from which the rivers and underground aquifers that fed the Nazca region originated. The geoglyphs, in this interpretation, were not an observatory, but a form of sacred landscape. They were ritual pathways, or checks, designed to connect the Nazca people with the sources of their sustenance. The figures of the spider, monkey, and hummingbird were not constellations, but symbols of water, fertility, and abundance. The spider is often associated with rain in traditional belief systems, and the monkey is native to the wet, lush Amazon, a place of abundant water. The hummingbird is linked to the life-giving spring season. The massive trapezoids, once thought to be ceremonial spaces, were often found to terminate at points where water trickled down from the mountains. The lines, therefore, were part of a massive, landscape-wide ritual system. They were sacred paths to be walked during ceremonies, a form of prayer etched into the earth itself, pleading with the mountain gods to send water and grant fertility to their fields. This theory, which combines archaeology, ethnography, and hydrology, is now the most widely accepted explanation in academic circles. It paints a picture of a deeply spiritual people whose entire worldview was shaped by the struggle for water in a desolate land. But while academics debated astronomy versus water rituals, a third, far more sensational theory was capturing the public imagination. In 1968, a Swiss author and hotelier named Erich von Däniken published a book that would become a global phenomenon, Chariots of the Gods. In it, he proposed a radical new paradigm for understanding ancient history. He argued that many of the world's ancient marvels, from the pyramids of Egypt to the statues of Easter Island, were not the work of human hands alone, but were built with the help of, or as a tribute to, extraterrestrial visitors. The Nazca Lines were his star exhibit. Von Däniken's argument was seductive in its simplicity. He posed a series of seemingly common-sense questions. Why would a primitive culture expend such enormous effort to create images they could never see? The only logical answer, he claimed, was that the images were meant for someone who could see them. Beings in the sky. The long, straight lines, some stretching for miles with geometric precision, were not ceremonial paths, but something far more functional. They looked, he asserted, exactly like modern airport runways. The Nazca Plateau, according to von Däniken, was a vast, ancient airfield. The alien gods landed their spacecraft here, and the grateful or awestruck Nazca people decorated the periphery of the landing strips with giant figures, perhaps in imitation of the visitors or as totemic symbols to welcome their return. The theory was an immediate sensation. It provided a single, thrilling answer to a complex mystery. It tapped into the space-age zeitgeist of the late 1960s and a growing fascination with UFOs. For millions of readers, The idea of ancient astronauts was more compelling than the dry academic theories of calendars or water rituals. Von Däniken pointed to a specific carving on a nearby hillside, a figure with large, round eyes and what appears to be a helmet, dubbing it the astronaut and presenting it as a clear depiction of an extraterrestrial being. The Nazca Lines were no longer just an archaeological puzzle. They were now exhibiting the case for alien visitation in human antiquity. The title of this very article, Ironclad Proof of Alien Visitation, stems directly from the cultural impact of von Däniken's work. But is it proof? When subjected to scientific scrutiny, the ancient astronaut theory begins to crumble. Let's address its central claims. First, the idea that the lines are only visible from the air is demonstrably false. While the full figures are best appreciated from high above, they are perfectly visible from the many low hills and ridges that dot the surrounding landscape. It's highly probable that the Nazca designers directed the work from these natural vantage points, using a system of signals to guide the workers on the ground below. No flight was necessary to create or appreciate them. Second, the runway hypothesis is physically untenable. The desert floor is not hard-packed and stable. It's soft soil and loose gravel. Any heavy spacecraft attempting to land would have kicked up a blinding dust storm and likely become mired in the soft ground, destroying the very lines in the process. Furthermore, why would advanced interstellar travelers, capable of crossing light years of space, require crude, mile-long runways? And why would they decorate their airfield with a bestiary of local fauna? The logic is inconsistent. Third, the precision of the lines, while impressive, is not beyond the capabilities of the Nazca. As mentioned, experiments have shown that a small team using simple tools, stakes, and long ropes can replicate the straight lines and complex curves with remarkable accuracy. We often fall into the trap of chronological snobbery, underestimating the ingenuity and skill of ancient peoples. The Nazca were master weavers and potters. Their technical and artistic abilities were highly developed. Creating the lines required dedication and organization, not alien technology. Finally, the figure of the astronaut is easily explained within the context of Andean art. It is far more likely a representation of a local shaman or deity, adorned with a ritual headdress and large eyes, a common motif representing spiritual sight or a trance-like state. It bears a strong resemblance to other figures in Nazca pottery and textiles, which are unequivocally human or mythological in origin. In an attempt to find a middle ground, some have proposed that the Nazca themselves might have achieved flight. In 1975, Jim Woodman and Julian Nutt constructed a hot air balloon, the Condor, using only materials and technologies they believed would have been available to the Nazca, such as cotton cloth and reeds. They successfully flew for a short period, suggesting that perhaps the Nazca shamans ascended in rudimentary balloons to oversee their work and commune with the gods. While a fascinating and creative idea, no direct archaeological evidence, no remnants of a balloon, no burn pits for heating the air has ever been found to support this theory. It remains a speculative but intriguing footnote in the story of the lines. So, where does this leave us? The evidence overwhelmingly points away from extraterrestrial visitors and towards the Nazca people themselves. The lines are not runways for starships, but a profound expression of human faith and resilience. They are a testament to a culture's desperate and beautiful attempt to communicate with the powerful forces that govern their lives. They are a prayer for water, a map of the cosmos, and a sacred stage for ritual, all written on the largest canvas imaginable. Yet, the allure of the alien theory persists. It speaks to a deep-seated human desire for wonder, for connection to something larger than ourselves. It is, in its own way, a modern myth. The story of the Nazca Lines is now inextricably linked with the story of Erich von Däniken and the idea of ancient astronauts. The theory, while factually baseless, has become part of the phenomenon's cultural history. It forced us to look at the lines with fresh eyes and to ask bigger questions, even if it led to the wrong answers. The true mystery of the Nazca Lines is not whether aliens built them, but how we can begin to comprehend the worldview of the people who did. To stand on the Nazca Plateau is to feel the weight of 1,000 years of silence. The lines are a quiet, powerful message from a lost world. They speak of a time when humans saw the earth and sky as a single, interconnected entity, when survival depended on a delicate balance of observation, ritual, and faith. They are not ironclad proof of alien visitation. Instead, they are ironclad proof of the extraordinary depths of human ingenuity, artistry, and the enduring power of belief. The figures in the sand remain, staring up at the sky, not in expectation of returning starships, but as a permanent record of a people's relationship with their world and their gods. The question mark in the title remains, not because the answer is aliens, but because the full meaning of this sacred landscape may forever be just beyond our complete understanding, a silent, magnificent enigma etched upon the face of the earth.